Hello and welcome to the King's Forum podcast show. I have a very special guest back again on the show, Rafa. Hi, Rafa.
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
I'm great, man. Nice to see you again, man. I just thought it was important to have a conversation with a father on Father's Day and to talk about, kind of the impact becoming a father had on your life. And we're going to talk about fathers in general and discussion about my father and your father and kind of how that shaped us into becoming men and who we are today. Yeah, so talk to me. Did you always want to be a father, Rafa?
Um, I think, yeah. I don't remember a time in my life when I said I don't want to have kids
Mm.
or anything like that. I'm 34 at the moment, and my son is 10.
Ah, okay.
So when he was born, I was 24. It wasn't planned,
Yeah.
and I felt very young at the time. I wasn't sure how to deal with it, but it's one of those things that you just get on with it the best way you can, I suppose, isn't it?
That's good. Wow. Do you remember what your feelings were like when he was born?
I think I was scared.
Yeah, I can well imagine.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
we were he was born in St Thomas Hospital.
Okay.
I remember it was 1702. Um, so it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
The nurse sort of handed him to me. She basically said, "Put your hands like that," and they placed him on my arms.
Wow.
I think on my Facebook I've got a picture. But yeah, I don't know. It was very surreal. It took a while to understand and sort of grasp the concept of being a father.
Yeah. So what was it like? A bit of shock initially,
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
and it's kind of like processing it. And with you, kind of like, oh yeah, actually, I am a dad. It happened. It's real. Is it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even though my son is 10 now, and even now, sometimes I have to remind myself, he's my son. He's not my my mate, so to speak, because we have to have that boundary and try and be that role model. Because
Yeah.
it's
Definitely.
like they say, monkey see, monkey does.
Yeah.
So I think for a while my behavior was not what it should have been. You know,
Mm.
so I was very immature and just too relaxed, I suppose.
Yeah, that was natural for your age group as well, because as you said, 24, didn't you? So yeah, you would be just starting to figure out the type of man you want to be, and then all of a sudden you're a father.
Yeah,
It's like you're balancing that. You're balancing, growing as a person, and growing as that father, that the father figure, the role model, like you said, for your son. So yeah, I could imagine that whole balance. That must have been quite difficult and challenging for you.
it was. I think it was just, obviously throughout the pregnancy when my son's mom,
Yeah.
we that there was a baby on the way, but until he was actually born, he was very. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what in my mind what I was thinking. I don't know. I was just too relaxed. I think.
Mm.
Um, I feel that um, if I could go back, I think I would do certain things differently, but I
Mm.
also understand that everything happens for a reason,
Mm, definitely.
and I think my perception of fatherhood now is being not only a protector and provider, but also someone who shows you the way.
Mm. Guidance.
Guidance. Yeah,
Guidance, like we all needed, speaking as, being our father's son and growing up, we seek that guidance, don't we? We need that to find our way, to find our path. in life.
Well, I mean, I think we need it a lot of the times, even more than we realize.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
100%.
especially when you get to your teen years,
Yes.
all of a sudden you think you know everything, you think you know best, and that's when you need that guidance the most.
Yep, 100%. I'm with you because that's when we, as you said, we think we know everything, and that's the time we rebel against our parents, and we want to come. We actually, it's a bit of confusion if you think about it, because we're not quite sure about what we want, but we just know we want to go against what our parents are telling us, and we want to rebel and find our own way. We don't have that awareness yet, that emotional intelligence yet, because we don't have life experience. So we're finding our way. So we think rebelling is the way forward. I'm just gonna go against everything my parents have said. I'm gonna go and she tells me not to do that. My dad tells me not to do that, but I'm gonna go and do it anyway.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time when somebody, well, as a parent, and I've especially with my mum, because my mum, she raised me as a
Mm,
single mum. A lot of the time we think that we're being restricted
yes.
when in fact they are trying to um, prevent you from pain or from suffering, or from going down a dark path. But
Yeah.
in our head we think, you know what, I'm a big guy, you don't have to tell me what to do. And it's the wrong mentality. But I think only through living those experiences and thinking, oh, this is why she didn't want me to do this, we can do it on our own. And don't get me wrong, there may be other cases where kids do listen, and they sort of dodge that bullet, and they don't get hurt or they don't go through certain things. But I can only speak from my own experiences, and a lot of the time I think, um, rather than trying to force someone not to do certain things, when you just give your opinion and say, "Do you know what, if I was you, I wouldn't do this because of so and so,"
Yeah.
opposed to saying, "No, you're not doing this." Because all of a sudden it's like, even if I didn't want to do it, now I'm gonna do it,
Yeah.
just to prove you that I can.
And that's what it is, isn't it? Yeah, constant. We're trying to prove a point all the time when we're in our teens.
Yeah.
What was something you liked about the way you were raised that you wanted to do for your son?
Um, I think and again, I'll use my mum as an example, because
Mm.
my dad wasn't always there.
Mm.
My dad had a whole second family.
All
Uh,
right.
yeah, I've got half brothers and half sister, and a half a sister. Um, so he had a lot on his plate, so to speak.
Mm.
Um, but I think my mum always did the best she could with us. She's very strong. I think in her mind there is no, I can't do this. You just get up and go. I think, um, and it's something that she's done her best to try and pass on
Mm.
to us, both my sisters and I. Um, One of the things I liked from growing up, it was just knowing that, I always felt safe.
Yeah.
I I felt that my mum was there, and I think a lot of the times we're not grateful enough
Yeah.
for what our parents or our fathers or our mums have done for us, and still do. Because even though we're grown-ups, whenever we're going through anything in particular, at least in my case, I feel that I can turn to her.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. Still for advice and things like that. I still, have a great connection with my mum, and use her. It's a voice of experience, isn't it? It's gone through stuff, so she's my mum's a great sounding board for that.
Yeah,
Someone to talk to when I need it. So it
yeah,
was, so it was more about being safe and creating a stable environment for your son, was it?
yeah, 100%. And more than that, not being not, or I wanted to be there for him because I remember growing up with my dad. I can talk about it now, and I kind of laugh about it because I've now gotten over it. But for example, my dad would say to my mom, "I'm gonna go pick up the kids at 12 to take them for lunch." So 10:30, I'd be ready. I'd be dressed, ready to go for lunch. Now I'm a big guy, so I like my food. So at 12 o'clock, my mom and the rest of the family are getting ready to have food, and my mom sees that I'm sitting down on the side because I'm waiting for my dad because I'm gonna go for lunch with my dad. And then it gets to 12:30, it gets to 1 o'clock, and my mom knows that I'm hungry, but she goes to me, come and eat, and and then she says, why don't you go change?
Mm.
Now I'm a lot later, like when I was a grown up, I realized that my mom knew that my dad wasn't coming, but
Yes.
I didn't know that, so I was waiting. I was like, no, I'm not gonna eat because I'm gonna eat with my dad. So then my mom would be like, "I'll go change," and I would get upset, and I'd be like, "My mom doesn't want me to see my dad," you know, and then she'd be like, "You know, I know you're hungry. Come and just have a little bit of food, and change your clothes so that when your dad comes, you're not dirty or anything, and just wear your normal clothes for the house." So then that would kind of make sense in my head. I'd be like, oh, "Okay, yeah, fine, I'll do that then." So then I would go change and then come and eat,
Yeah.
and my dad wouldn't turn up at all. And that was a recurring thing. I remember only once he came to pick me up the next day at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
He was drunk. This was in Bolivia. So in Bolivia, there is nothing you can do at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, apart from going to church, maybe. Everything is closed.
Yeah.
But he came and you could see that he was drunk. I mean, I couldn't tell, but now I know that he was.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he came and he wanted to take me somewhere, and my mom said no. And then I started crying because my mom wouldn't let me
Mm.
go.
Exactly.
So at the end, she said, "You know what? You want to go? Fine, just go." So yeah, I went on my dad's car. I think that's the only memory I have of being in his car.
Wow.
Um, there was nothing we could do. We drove around for I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. And then he took me back home. So I think um, what I wanted to, or what I want to make sure is that I'm there for my son. You know, his mom and I were not together.
Mm.
It's been quite a long time, over 8 years, I think. Um, but we try and have an amicable relationship
Yeah.
for my son. And whenever I say I'm gonna see him, I basically what I say I'm gonna do, I do it.
Yeah.
And for a while, um, I had sort of strayed from that path, and I was becoming my dad because I was saying I'm going to go see him and then I wouldn't. And I think this was through a time when I was going through depression and I was doing a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing. But I'm glad that I put myself in check, and I believe that we have a good relationship with my son. Um, Now because of COVID and all that, we haven't had like sleepovers and things
Yeah.
like that. But I know he's looking forward to it, and whenever we spend time, we have a really good time. And I'd like to think that um, I'm being there for him the way I wish I would have had my dad be in my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I respect that. Yeah. That's what it's about, isn't it? It's being better.
Yeah,
Regardless of our experiences that we've had as children, that we want to learn from that and say, look, we're not going to do the same just because we experienced it. We want better for our children
yeah.
and the children in our lives. So yeah, definitely, I totally understand what you're saying. Was there anything you promised yourself that you wouldn't do, that you didn't like about the way you were raised? Well, I think you've answered that, haven't
Yeah,
you?
yeah. I mean, I think mainly mainly is the, do what you say you'll do.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's the main thing, especially, I mean, in my case, because I don't live with my son, so I don't get to interact with him on a daily
Yeah,
basis. Um, which, it's is something that I've grown to understand over the years.
yeah.
But in my head, I would like to have more kids. I would
Mm,
like to have a family. Um, so I think everything I'm doing with my son now is in preparation to what's coming. If it comes, it's not out. It'd be the end of the world if I don't have any more kids and all that. But I would like it. Um, my son asked me if I want to have more kids. He's asked me in the past. I said, I don't know. I don't know. And we have a good relationship where we joke around a lot.
yeah,
Sometimes I say, I don't know. You're a big headache. I don't know if I want to have two of you. But he knows I'm joking. So
yeah,
I believe um I always try and teach him respect,
yeah,
especially now that he's 10. He's soon gonna start going into his teenage
yeah.
years, and I can see that he's getting his own personality, and sometimes um, I think he tries and see how much he can get away with, or he says certain things, and that's when I stop and I say, "What are you doing?" And I always try and I want to make sure that he knows he can talk to me.
Yeah.
I always ask him questions. Why do you think it's okay to do this, or why do you think it's okay to behave like this? I don't talk to you like this, or I don't do this. Why, you know? And I want to understand the way he thinks, because I don't want to force him to do what I want.
Yeah,
I want him to choose to be a good person and to
yeah,
be
definitely.
um, a law-abiding citizen, and to be. I want him to want to be an asset to society. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
So, what surprised you in the first year of fatherhood?
Um, what surprised me? They're always there. They don't go anywhere. It's and I must admit, and I have to hold my hands up because his mum, she looked after him all day because I was working full time, so she would look after him. But um, I noticed a lot that kids respond to energy. So if you have a peaceful energy or a good energy, they respond to it. Even though they can't talk. And I've seen it a lot when sometimes as parents we want our kids to go to bed, and we're frustrated because we know that we have to get up in 6 hours and they're not going to bed. So we get angry or upset, and that makes it worse. I remember for me, I mean, when my kid was when my son was a baby, it was really easy for me to get him to fall asleep. 'Cause I would just like sort of like scratch his head, and I would put my head in his chest while I do it, and he'd be asleep in 10 minutes. But if I was annoyed or if I was in a bad mood, he just wouldn't sleep, or he would want to play. And it took me a while to realize that that was his way of him trying to make me feel better.
Mm,
My head, I'm thinking, why won't he go to sleep? Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And I think a lot of the time we don't realize how important the first years are. I think it's Oprah that is a co-author on a book that is called "What Happened to You." Because and I was listening to a podcast with her and Jay Shetty recently, and they talk a lot about everything that a child goes through from when they're born to the age of 6 affects them massively
Yeah,
later on in life.
definitely.
And a lot of the time, when we speak to people or kids, sometimes I don't know if it's happened to you. You find yourself saying, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
When that's why the book is called "What Happened to You,"
Yes.
because it says what happened to you to make you the way you are now.
Yeah.
And I think I'm really intrigued in reading the book. I haven't gotten around to
Mm,
buying it, But I think, I mean, from what I hear, when the podcast came out, I
Yeah.
think it was just being published. But it is a book that I would recommend to people, especially new parents, or even if you don't have a kid. It might be something that it helps you understand, um, or it helps you to know how to behave when you're a parent,
Yeah,
or if you have, niece, nephews.
definitely. How did becoming a dad change your outlook on life?
Um, I think, and it's not easy to admit, but it took me a very, very, very long time to reach maturity, even
Mm,
though I was already a dad. You know, when we split up with my son's mom, I can hold my hands up now and say, I wasn't behaving the way I should have.
yeah,
I was sometimes going to parties and doing security. Sometimes back then I used to work in a club. So after the club, I would stay and have drinks with the staff and things like that. And my behavior didn't reflect how a father or the man of the family, the man of the house, should behave. Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? And I think, or I believe now, I am I am a lot more aware that, I think, whether we like it or not, we have a responsibility. I think some men, or a lot of men, they choose not to bother, and not they're not involved in the kid's life and whatnot. But I want to I want to be able to grow as a person, to be able to be there for my son's life, not just now, but throughout.
yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. It does, definitely. You know. You're gonna ask me a couple of questions, Rafa.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Um. So, what was it like, the relationship you had with your dad?
Yeah, he passed away 7 years ago. What I remember from him growing up, he was a very, uh, old-fashioned father in a sense of very strict, very principled, very set in his ways, should I say. So we didn't have the best of relationships. I remember that, and we used to clash, especially when I got into my teens and stuff, because my mum and dad did split up, so he went to live elsewhere, and my mum was raising us, me and my younger brother, through my teens and his teens upwards. So yeah, I remember the times we lived together. It was tough because we used to get into a lot of arguments and things. So I remember, yeah, we had some very difficult times because I did want to rebel most of the times because it was just like he's very strict and had these set boundaries about curfews and things like that. So I was constantly wanting to rebel and do something else, and yeah, and challenge that, and challenge the restrictions I thought it was. But like we talked about, it's just about our parents wanting to protect us. And
Yeah.
I think I respect how he was more so the older I have become, because
Yeah.
the understanding's there. So now I have the understanding of why he was the way he was. And it was out of protection, and he was trying to keep us from harm. And yes, I thought it was strict and maybe unfair at times and what have you, but that was his way. That was the way he was brought up. So it was the same as the old traditional West Indian values of how you should raise your children.
Yeah.
So I respect it more now. So that relationship at the time, I found it very difficult because we were at loggerheads and we went spells of not talking and things like that. But the older I got, the more I respected it. And him passing away, there was a lot of grief I had to deal with. Um, I found it very difficult for a long time because I had a lot of unresolved stuff where we didn't really communicate and have conversations how we were both feeling. So there was a lot of unresolved stuff I had when he passed, and yeah, I've had to get some therapy and deal with that and process it, and really, and now it's a lot easier to talk about because I still find it painful on Father's Day or his birthday, you know. That's why it's important, even more so for me to do these videos because it does really matter, and the importance of having a father in your life is a big deal in a household. And I didn't have him in the household for a long time, and I went off the rails in my teens. I used to get into a lot of trouble, and my mom was there trying to guide, and I was, you know, not listening a lot of the time until I got into my early 20s. Did I start listening again and really like reining it in? But I went off the rails a bit, and when you think back, you realize not having that father figure was a big deal in my to why I went off the rails.
Yeah.
You know, is not having that guidance and that role model, like you said. You
Mm.
know, and you know, my mom did her best, but you know, there were times I went off the rails and didn't want to listen to my mom. You know, there's a time to, yeah, I disrespected the household and you know, the rules she had put in place because I was this headstrong teenager, just wanted to rebel and do whatever he wanted. So looking back as an adult, you realize those things and you understand, you start to value I think you value your parents even more so the older you get. And when you get into adulthood, you start to realize why they raised you the way they raised you. And you
Yeah.
may not have agreed with it at the time, but it was all for a reason. And it was done out of love. And sometimes it can be painful, but it's done out of love to protect you and guide you from, put you on the right path and protect you from harm, because they know it's a cruel world out there. And as kids, we don't see the whole world. We're in our own worlds, and we don't see like the harshness until something happens. And we're like, oh, this really goes on, you know. So you're kind of just going through the flow type thing as a youngster and as a child and as a teenager. So
Yeah.
until you like you're out into the workplace and you start working, you start seeing the world for what it is, and you start opening your eyes a bit more. So our relationship was strained, but you know, I understand it now, and that was a part of my healing for when he passed, was really realizing the way he was for a reason, and it was done out of love
Yeah.
and for how much he cared for us.
I think, I mean, and following from what you say as well, a lot of the time we find that, or I don't know if it happens with you, but behavior I've seen in kids in the past, including my son, a lot of the time, what could be perceived as misbehavior is actually curiosity. You know,
Yes.
sometimes you want to test the boundaries. I remember once I was cooking, and we got into a habit with my son to cook together. But this particular time, I was cooking on my own. I was sharing a flat with a mate at the time, and my son was watching TV. So I was throwing away something, and the bin was full. So I said to my son, I called him in, and I said, "Can you take the rubbish out?" And he goes, "Why me?" And at that moment, I remember my childhood. I remember if I would have said that to my mom, she'd have a go at me. She'd be like, "Because I said so, because this is my house, and because in my house we do what I say," kind of thing, you know. And for whatever reason, when he said, "Oh, why me?" and I said, "Son, it's only you and me in the house. We're a team. We have to work together.
Like that.
If you help me take the rubbish out, we can get the food soon, and everything will be done, and we'll eat. We need to work together. You're like my assistant." And he goes, "Oh, okay, cool." And then he took the rubbish out, threw it away, and it wasn't a big deal. But I think, and I don't think he was being rude, but he was just. I think he was just a question. Do you know what I mean? But it could be perceived as him misbehaving. Some people might say, "Oh, how dare he say that? Like, you're his dad. He has to do what you say." But sometimes it's not like that. I remember once I was at a friend's house, and she was cooking, and she said to her son, "Take the rubbish out." And he said, "Oh, why do I always have to do it?" And blah blah. And she said to him, "Watch what happens if you don't take the rubbish out." So he responded, "What's going to happen?" And now when he said that, I was like, "Oh my god!" Because in my head, I was thinking, "Oh my god! Imagine I said that to my mom."
Yeah, that would have been what a firework.
I don't know if it's with you. I mean, I think a lot of it is culture as well.
Yes.
But man, I get beat.
Yeah, you wouldn't dare say something like that, would
I
you?
wouldn't dare. But then at the same time, I started thinking about it later, and I remember talking to her, and I said, "Have you ever hit your kid?" And she said, "No." And I thought, he's genuinely asking. He actually doesn't know.
Yeah, it's curiosity.
Yeah, he doesn't know what's gonna happen if he doesn't do what he's told to do. But I think a lot of the time having or taking a step back to think about what's happening and not react so quick, it's not easy.
No, it's,
Especially, if you're a single parent, it's a lot of the time. I think, my hats off to a lot of women. And I say women because a lot of the time it ends up being the women who are single parent. It's not many single dads that I come across. Um, but yeah, I think you're constantly stressed. It's a 24-hour job.
mm,
Um, and unless you have some family to look after your kid every now and again, is your job, and you have to do it, and there's no way around it. Does that make sense?
yeah, definitely. It is. You don't have any choice. You know,
Exactly.
it,
Um,
it's the way it is.
yeah, but I mean, going back to, or to follow up, um, from what you were saying with your experience, would you say you have any regrets? Um, look,
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I would say, one of the things my mom told me was, you don't know how long, we've got on this earth. You're better off patching up your relationship with your father and, making sure if he does pass away, that it doesn't end on any bad terms. So that was the greatest advice I didn't listen to at the time, because I was just still caught up in my own, it's ego, isn't it, really? Of thinking, oh no, leave it, it is what it is type thing, and being very stubborn in that, and setting my ways, actually being very stubborn. That's one thing I would say, is looking back, because I don't really believe in regrets, because I believe things are what they are, and then we have to heal from them and move on.
mm,
And as you said, life is about experience and learning from our experiences, and they make us who we are today. So, but if we're going to say that, then I would say that's probably the best way, because it created even more hurt, and I needed even more healing because of the way it was left. As I said, there was a lot of unresolved issues between us, and that did that made me struggle with having closure.
yeah,
And yeah, definitely, I would say that is, patching it up, and just, life's too short. We just got to make the most of it, and to be holding grudges or any like ill feelings for anyone,
mm,
it's not really worth it, because no one knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
yeah, and I mean, following up from what you just said, I think a lot of the time the only person we're hurting is ourselves.
Yes.
When you hold grudges, when your ego gets in the way of
Mm,
actually living a full life. Um, I mean, I had I'm living at my parents' house at the moment,
mm.
and I think being back at your parents' house after you've lived by yourself is not easy.
Oh,
And it's I mean, for me, it's temporary.
yeah.
But it tends to happen that something might happen with my mom,
Mm,
and we clash, and I try and do my best to try and keep my ego in check.
mm.
Because one, yes, I may be a grown man, but I'm living in her house,
Yes.
so and she's being very clear, and she said, if you don't like it, find your own place. And with COVID and everything else, it's just being a big, it's all being sort of up in the air.
Yeah.
I will in the near future find my own place and all that, but I want to be doing it for the right reasons,
Mm,
not just because I have arguments with my mom or anything like that. I want to do it from in a healthy way. We have a very good relationship with her. She's a very very strong woman. You know, I think honestly, I mean, she brought us to this country from Bolivia on
Yeah,
her own, without any help, and she always tried to provide for us. You know, I think it's something that it needs to be acknowledged.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, I think exactly that. I mean, as you said, learning from experiences is crucial. It's so important that if you don't learn from your experience, you'll keep having the same experiences until you learn it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Um, but so from when your dad passed away, would you say things have gotten better over time?
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I've spoken to some people who've lost a parent or whatever, and they say it doesn't. But for me, from my experience, it has done
Mhm.
because I think that's down to if it doesn't, I think that's down to your healing and whether you've had therapy and you've dealt with the grief.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't, then obviously it's going to be showing up in a through panic attacks or anxiety, and you know you can definitely come it can definitely show up in a major way to harm how you're functioning in your everyday life. So
Mhm.
because of the therapy and what have you, with time is definitely a healer for me, and having that support and having the help for it definitely has helped with the healing. Yeah, but as I said, you still get little triggers, but not as much as I said around birthdays and Father's Day. That's a big one.
Yeah.
These are the days that definitely affect me in that way, but time is definitely a healer.
100%. Would you? I mean, I know we've spoken in the past, and you don't have any kids right now, right? Would you have any advice for the people who watch your show, for the people who will be watching this video, whether they're parents or they're not parents? Any advice on to we as men, how to interact, how to deal, whether it's as a parent, as a sibling, as a brother, um, with the rest of or with the people around you? What would you say to them?
As a sibling or a brother, you mean in regards to children, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I think speaking about Father's Day
Mm.
from a men's point of view.
Is that to realize that we're very important in a child's development, and as they grow, were a very important role model person in their lives. Yeah, a mother's an amazing part as well, but we're just as important. And just remember that, and we're role models, and to you know um, realize that they soak up everything. They're watching, they're listening. They're taking in your behaviors around them. So be very careful about that and just be responsible. Just think of it this way. Um, you want, I always thought that, when I do someday become a father, it's always about, showing them the best of you,
Yeah.
and taking the best parts and wanting them to be the best versions of themselves, and very little showing. But at times you can show, but most of the time you're going to be taking the best of me, and I'm showing you the best of me because I want you to be even better. You want that next generation to be better than you were, um, and not have the same pain maybe I had throughout my childhood and the childhood trauma I've had to deal with and process, and not have that, and be better and have a better environment that I grew up with, that so both parents were around and they have that stability, because I realized it did affect me at times not having my dad around enough
Yeah.
and living in the same household. So just being a responsible adult, and realizing that they like role models, and they will soak up everything like a sponge. Whatever they see, they're going to take and put it into try and be an inspirational person, someone who's showing them, guiding them, showing them the right way, and also too. and want them to be individual and finding their own way as well. So a bit of guidance and advice, but they also have to find their own path. I think that's important, because I think there's a lot of times we can be as whether it's a parent or an uncle or whatever, we want them to fulfill something we didn't fulfill.
Yeah.
So maybe something we failed at, we want them to succeed at. And it's about them finding their way in something they love and living their lives, not someone else's. And I think that's important, because we can do that and make kids be doing all sorts of things that they don't want to, because that's what we want for them rather than what they want for themselves. And don't get me wrong, we need to guide them a little bit because they are children, but we want them to find their own way and explore things, and try things that they can learn from, and find out whether they like themselves. And I think that's important, because we want individuals. We don't want people to we don't want sheep just following the herd. You want to create the shepherds,
100%.
the next princes and princes of this world, and we want them to be their own people and individuals and have their own. And that's the thing I would say, because a lot of the time my upbringing, Christian, strong beliefs, and didn't really have the choices. It told you have to do this type thing. And no, don't get me wrong, it's good because the principles and they teach you right and wrong, don't get me wrong, but I'd like more of an individual to find their way. And if it is a religion they want to be a part of and they believe in, then so be it. But I want them to find that way themselves.
Yeah.
With guidance.
Really cool. Thank you for that.
No, that's really it, man. That's summed up for Father's Day. Yeah.
I think from my side, I think I would emphasize on the importance of I mean, from a father point of view, for any new fathers or any men who are expecting to be, or who will soon be fathers, I think is the importance of learning about what you're going to go through when you're a dad. So reading about what to do, what to say, what not to say, because a lot of the time we behave from experience. So
Yes.
if our parents behaved a certain way, we'll do the same.
Yeah.
It may not necessarily be the right way, but that's all we know. Which is why if you read and you get to know a different way of dealing with things, difficult moments, because they will come, and a lot of the time, it will make a difference. When you take a step back and think, do you know what? Actually, I'm not going to do this, because even though I went through it, it hasn't benefited me. It's not been beneficial in any way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So from my advice to any men, for women as well, but we're emphasizing on Father's Day. For any men, is don't underestimate the value of preparing yourself for when you are a dad, from when you are a father. And exactly like you said, let them. I think a lot of the time is giving our kids the freedom to make the right decision.
Yeah.
And rather than trying to push them to do what we think is best for them, guide them. And I think a lot of the time stories, instead of speaking from our experience, if you make it into a story and you say, tell them a story, even if they don't know the person in the story is you, so this person behaved this way and this happened to them, maybe it's not the best idea. And I think education is massively important.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, exactly. When you're going to start a job, they train you. So why not train yourself when you're going to embark a new phase, or as is parenthood?
Dad in training, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Have the T-shirt for that, Rafa.
That sounds like we need to start a brand.
Tell me about it. But Rafa, I just want to thank you for the video as always. thank you for coming on and being a guest. Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, and it's always great to hear your point of view on
Thank you very much.
topics we touch on. Thanks a lot.
And happy Father's Day, Rafa.
Thank you very much.
People, please like, share, and subscribe to the video. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Thank you. See ya. Bye-bye.